All right, let's get to work on the Monty Show because a lot of you are here today to talk about the Pac-12 and a very interesting conversation that I had yesterday into today about where the Pac-12 is, because we all know what yesterday was. Yesterday was the JD Wicker deadline. We're going to play you the bite in a minute. We're back in February. JD Wicker said that there was going to be a Pac-12 media deal, and it was going to be done by the end of March. Well, guess what? March is over, and here we are in April, and a Pac-12 TV deal has not been announced. And I think it's just another one of those situations where you said something that not only you shouldn't have said, but here's another person in the Pac-12 who is sitting at the top of the Pac-12 making a statement that they didn't have to make. Nobody forced JD Wicker to put a false timeline on when the Pac-12 was going to get a TV deal. And all this has done is spun up a bunch of consternation over the last 2 days about the future and the foundation of the Pac-12. Let's get something straight right now. The Pac-12, regardless of what the other jackwagons are telling you, the Pac-12 is in no danger of collapse. The Pac-12 is in no different of a position today than they were yesterday or the day that dummy JD Wicker opened his pie hole and started making promises he could not keep.
Facts.
Those are the facts. The Pac-12 is just fine. They're going to get a TV deal. Who knows when and for how much? The Pac-12 has a lot of issues that are pending, especially in the courtroom. And I think when you look at JD Wicker's statement and you look at the false timeline that I still don't understand why he put it out there, Jake, again, not to be negative with the Pac-12, but the facts are the facts, and the facts are this is business as usual for the Pac-12.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate. You know, JD Wicker is someone who has made this mistake before, and you know, obviously didn't learn from that. And I think that San Diego State is an institution that, you know, lost a ton of credibility through the pro rata we deserve situation. You know, sending letters and emails and, you know, just speaking out of turn and quite frankly, again, like you just said, not to be negative, but speaking in an uneducated fashion. I mean, with all due respect, JD, talking directly to you, bro, you put an artificial timeline on when you were going to get a media rights deal done, and verbatim, and we're about to play the clip, you said that you're going to have the MOU signed and we're going to be good to go, and we're going to know then, you know, once the deal's done, what schools we can go out and get next. And I have to say, like, there was no pressure for you to speak on this.
Yeah,
there
what
was
was
no
the reason?
There was no impetus. There was no like, oh man, like we got to comment on this. Like you weren't in a position where you were pulling a Marshawn and just saying, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
No.
Or you weren't no commenting it. You didn't have to do any of that.
But
like
watch the video. I think this is one of those situations where JD Wicker was sitting up on a stage and he wanted to say something. He
clearly,
I'm guessing he felt some kind of pressure. It's just my opinion. Obviously, he hasn't said that, but it's just my opinion. You look at the forum where he is doing this, and you notice he's not doing this in front of TV cameras. Hell, this thing's shot on a cell phone.
At the end of next month, we will have the MOU done for our television deal. So we will know what our TV deal is going to be, who our partners are going to be. I will say this, they're entities that you're familiar with, that you would recognize. We're going to get great exposure, and the really good thing is we're going to get more exposure. It's not just going to be football and men's basketball, but it's going to be all of our sports are going to have the opportunity for this increased exposure. It's going to be increased revenue, which is a big thing for us. So that's really the next big piece. Once we know that, then we can go recruit that 8th football playing member. We need one more football playing member that has all of its sports to meet FBS rules or NCAA FBS rules. And then after that, we'll figure out if we're adding 1, 2, or 3 more schools, and whether they're coming in all of their sports. They might be coming in some of their sports.
Why? And again, that's the question that I don't understand. And we're gonna get more exposure and more money and
I think
members. And
I think
why?
Your best point so far, and I think the point that needs to be talked about, in my opinion, with this is JD Wicker is someone who feels the need to talk, even when he doesn't need to talk. And you can go and find them. They're all over Twitter now because this deadline is coming past. And obviously, the whatever adjective you want to use about the folks on Twitter, the grifters, the sleuths, the hacks, whatever you want to call them, dig up all his old, 2022, 2023, press conference moments where, he's saying things like San Diego State is always trying to, achieve at the highest level athletically. Like if you go back and you listen to the press conference where they announced that they were, joining the Pac-12 in 2026, in kicking off the conference in 2026, he talked all about how that was their, that was San Diego State's, goal and mission was to, be at the top. And he was specifically asked about, hey, is the Pac-12 and San Diego State going to get back to, power conference, affiliation, that, artificial term we put on it. And he talked all about it and talked way out of turn about it. And so that's why I say, like if anybody is out here talking about how this is his first time, you haven't been following this guy's track record. And I have to say, it's really surprising that JD Wicker, and you can go, the beauty of YouTube is you can go back and listen to our take on this from the day it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it the morning after it happened. And I was surprised then as I am now, because now we're sitting here after all the flack and all the nonsense in the comment section from Pac-12 fan who said, hey, you guys don't know what you're talking about. If he's saying it, it's true. And it's like, no, dude, actually, this guy's got a track record of speaking out of turn, representing the institution on its own in a really poor fashion, and then representing, of course, his conference in a really bad way. And so I don't understand, what, because you always hear this term, hey, the new Pac-12. I don't understand what's so new about it. What, outside of the fact that you've just got this little pod of schools together, what's new about what's happening in this conference? It's the same as it ever was in terms of operations and behavior, right? JD Wicker still talking out of turn. Teresa Gould, for whatever reason, did not instill, in my opinion anyway, did not instill any type of confidence in that interview that she did, where we talked all about that, like talking about how you need transformational partners. You can't just have someone cut you a check. Actually, you do want someone to cut you a check. Yeah. And actually, you don't want to be asking for TV partners to help pull you out of this hole. Like, they're TV partners for a reason. They cut you a check, they put your game on TV. That's the whole point. So my point here, and what I'm getting at, is I just don't feel like there's too much new in this situation. I feel like we're getting more of the same out of the Pac-12 in terms of leadership, whether it's the commissioner's office or the JD Wickers of the world. We're still not any further along, in my opinion, in terms of who's going to win this battle between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. I still feel like we're kind of in the same spot, and the days are just burning away here. And yet here we are again, and we're going to get to this in a little while. But, you have this house settlement situation now that people are trying to figure out how to get around. Like the Pac-12 and their schools don't have all day to just sit here and do absolutely nothing. And that's kind of what I feel like is happening. There are days going by. You have the JD Wickers of the world talking about artificial timelines that are clearly not realistic. And we've heard absolutely nothing since, I don't know what, November, December, like about any type of update. I guess the Teresa Gould interview, I suppose.
I think that, and I'm happy to play the bite, and you look at this scenario, and I think that you're exactly right about the transformational partnership bite. And the thing that I keep coming back to, and I don't mean to be redundant, this is who this conference has always been. They talk when they don't need to talk. They go on the Wilner, butthole podcast and talk about back of the envelope calculations. And that blew up in their face. Like everything that this conference says in these, and again, I think it matters. Look at the background where JD Wicker was. And that's why we put this picture up here. He's just sitting on a stage talking to a bunch of bros.
This is about as casual as it would get. Cause this event right here is supposed to be about like, hey, we're going to get some, big air quotes, fan engagement. Like it's going to be more casual. We're going to have some media members come out, but we're also going to have some boosters and donors and supporters on our concourse here. Like that's what that's about.
But he shows up in red pants occasionally, which I think that's admirable. I have respect for that.
Come on, dude.
But my point is, this is, I say that because this is just a fan event where he, I think, just feels comfortable, like, oh, I can say anything I want. And I understand. Okay, JD Wicker, dude, I think, and we've said this on the show, you're a hack. Like, I think the guy is not a good administrator, in my opinion. I think that beyond this Pac-12 situation, there are administrative issues there. Like, it just is what it is, right? But if it was just JD Wicker and Teresa Gould was locked like into a zone of awesomeness and execution, maybe we would all feel different about the Pac-12. Unfortunately, she's not.
You know, the one thing I keep saying to potential partners is, given where we are as a league, I don't want these partnerships to be transactional partnerships. I don't want this to be a media rights partner writing us a check and televising a bunch of games. We need these partnerships to be transformational at this point, and for somebody to really jump in with us and say, we want to help elevate and reimagine the new Pac-12.
She is never going to live that bite down. And I say that because talking to a TV guy this morning, because I've been trying to figure out, like, hey, where is the Pac-12 and the Mountain West in mediation? Have they picked out a mediator? Are we closer to a deal? Like, I was talking to a guy about the Pac-12 deal, and they truly believe that they are not the product, and that there's people in TV who believe that the Pac-12, and use ESPN, use whoever you want, they want their TV partner to be the reason that people go there and they find the Pac-12's game. Not, oh, well, the Pac-12 is on ESPN, so I better go to ESPN. And it should be the other way around. Yes, you want them to cut you a check and produce your games, and you want to reap a windfall from that.
So let's review, because this is I was not aware of this. I did not know that about this conversation that you had. So let's review. Essentially, the Pac-12 wants a handout. Like, let's be really clear about this. What the Pac-12 is saying is, hey, we want to be in a place where we're on ESPN, just as an example. It could be Prime, whatever. We want to be on a network that people run into our product because they were here maybe looking for whatever, and our ESPN pushed us on the homepage,
cut us a check, and then blow our product up, put it everywhere, all over the place, like.
So cut us a check and push our stuff as much as possible and help us.
That's the transformation they're looking for. And on the surface of it, you'd be like, okay, I guess I understand that. But if you're the Pac-12 and you're talking about a $15 million per year per school price tag, you're the one who's got to bring the value to the network or to the TV partner, not the TV partner bringing you the value.
Now they have a bunch of Power 5 teams, Power 4 teams in their league right now, right? They've got a bunch of
national champions in basketball and like they've got like I mean
who's on the graphic, right?
Actually,
that they put out, right? They've got a bunch of powerhouses on this graphic, right?
They don't.
Oh,
they don't.
So you mean to tell me when Teresa Gould was at the Elite 8 tournament in San Francisco over the weekend on TV that she wasn't seeing she wasn't seeing one of her future partners in those games?
But I think that's the point.
Like,
what value? Everything in sales is value for value, right?
Yeah.
So I just look at the Pac-12 in this situation with JD Wicker and with these comments by Teresa Gould. I just look at it as the same old Pac-12. They're not going to collapse. They're not going to die because, frankly, they do offer value in that they can be a nice late window piece of content for somebody, whether that is the C-Dub, whether that is, because remember now the CW doesn't have live golf anymore. The CW is I think going to do a lot more live football. CW I think is still the best place for them. It's regional. It's in all their markets. But okay, let's say TNT. Let's say they somehow wind up taking the Mountain West TV, whatever it is. That's the value. It's not must-see TV because of Fresno State playing San Diego State.
But isn't part of this conversation too, though, with this TV deal about the Pac-12's pride, right? Because we know it's not just, it's never been about just getting a deal, right? It's always been about, hey, what level of deal are we getting? What
I think
not only what network, what partner, but but what's the monetary value? You know, when are we going to be on? Are we going to be mostly stream versus linear? Like the Pac-12 has always really pushed that envelope with
But
that.
isn't this why Gloria Nevarez, in my opinion, has a leg up on somebody like Teresa Gould? She's not out here talking about how transformational partner or how this date drop dead, we're going to have a new deal. Or you look at what Gloria Nevarez has said. And I know every Pac-12 hyena tells me that I just, slurp up to Gloria and whatever. I happen to think her messaging is much better. And when you listen to her talk about their TV deal, it makes a lot of sense. How is your relationship with your TV partners from your perspective? And B, how close do you actually think you are to getting a new media rights deal for the Mountain West Conference?
Yeah, so we've had long-term partnerships with CBS and Fox at the Mountain West. And of course, I've been in this business for 30 years. So of course, it's a small world when it comes to that. We've known each other for decades. So we do have very strong relationships with those two, and we are working with them on what a new media would look like. I am very, very confident, 100% confident. We will have a media deal. When it will be finalized and what it will be, that's still in the works. And these things take time, and we're ahead of schedule. So while we're moving with urgency, I don't think we have a rush to hit a deadline.
See, like that's a perfect answer. That is her saying, "Hey, I am 100% confident we're going to get a deal done. We don't need, as a conference, we don't need to feel like we're in a rush to get a deal
There's
done.
no
It's
panic.
There's no panic or hysteria or oh my god.
She just handles it
Yeah.
better.
And
She's
I thought
more polished.
that the portion about, hey, these things take time, and we are, if you look at the negotiating timeline, we are actually ahead of schedule.
And they are.
Although it feels like it's taking a while, we are actually ahead of schedule when you look at the total picture. That's a totally different message than what you're getting, apples to apples, JD Wicker, right? That's a totally different message. I mean, JD is out here saying, hey, we're, at that time, again, and I do, and this is maybe me being a red ass a little bit, but at the time, and I still believe it, think he was trying to be cute with the whole MOU jargon. I think if he was really trying to send a strong, unified message, he would have just said, hey, we expect to have a media rights deal done by, this time, if he was so committed to a timeline.
A media rights deal to be done in short order. We are talking to some of the biggest names in television, and that's going to take time because we're not going to settle for anything but the best deal possible. That's what he should have said if he was going to say anything. What he should have said is, I defer to Teresa Gould on that, but I want you to know, hey, I'm quite confident we're going to have a really solid media rights package for you.
And San Diego State is committed to competing at the highest level.
And San Diego State is we are going to do everything we have to do to win games in every one of our sports.
Yeah.
That's all he should have said.
That's what you should have said.
But he didn't. So I guess my question is, how confident are you that the Pac-12 gets a deal done? I'm 100% confident. I think it is an $8 to $10 million deal at the most. And this is what I said to Gloria Nevarez when she was on the show, the commissioner of the Mountain West. Can both conferences get a deal that allows you to survive and thrive? The answer is no. I've asked that to 100 people, and I do not think that there is $20 million a year out there. And I don't, even if there is $20 million out there, I don't think that helps both these conferences thrive. I really don't. It's not enough money. When you look at what you were talking about with the House settlement, and you have conferences and universities and athletic directors and coaches trying to figure out how to get back under the table. Now it's not a problem to pay a guy directly, but now we still yet have to find ways to get under the table and pay him, which is just outlandish to me. But when you're only making a small amount a year, $10 million per year, that's a very challenging scenario. And again, what Gloria openly and honestly talked about, not all of her members are going to opt into that.
Yeah, well, and I think the interesting part of the House settlement thing is Ross Dellinger had this article a few days ago. It's been an ongoing conversation, but I think what people, and when I say people, administrators in college athletics are starting to understand is that, yeah, I mean, if we're a mid-major or not in a power conference, and we're just not operating at a level financially that we can afford a $20 million buy-in that's going up year after year, how can we work around that, right? We've talked so much on the show about how schools are going to find a way, right? I mean, you have Dr. Scott, from Memphis telling you that some of his members are going to pay more, some will pay less. But the point is that ultimately when it starts to come out, when you start to see smoke that, hey, we're going to opt out of the House settlement publicly and officially, but we're still, our school and our boosters and our donors are damn well going to be, pushing money into our athletic department. We are going to find a way through our network of people to pay these kids in a private fashion under the table so that we can still have a $7 to $10 million NIL basketball roster. That's dangerous territory for college athletics.
Jackson on Twitter X continues to push this narrative that so many are. And Jackson, I don't mean to pick on you, and I appreciate you watching the show on Twitter, talking about how when Stanford and Cal come back to the Pac-12. Ask yourself why Stanford and Cal would come back to the Pac-12.
Okay, so the obvious, the thing that everyone goes to as well is geographic, Monty. It's there. It works better. It saves them a bunch of money. But what's the problem with that? With that take, you're in the ACC, making ACC money already, and you're not going to take that large of a step back to make your flights shorter. Yeah, with all due respect,
I know that so many people in Stanford and Cal country, and I love you guys. You're on this show, San Francisco and the Bay Area. Really, the state of California powers this show in a lot of different ways. You guys are fantastic. I just don't see Stanford and Cal. Again, how are you going to get out of that grant of rights? Like you went through all of this to get into the ACC. It makes no financial sense. I agree it would be a huge win for the Pac-12, but are you really going to step away from a P4 to go to a struggling G5 conference?
No.
Financially, that would be devastating in my opinion.
Yeah, and I also think you look at what Andrew Luck is doing and this whole Frank Reich thing, and talking about you want to talk about sending a message and kind of setting a heading for your football program.
You mean Andy Luck?
Yeah, Andy Luck. Andy Luck. You look at what Andy Luck is doing. He set a heading for that football program and said we're not going to accept anything less than the best, and if we have to wait, we'll wait.
Firing Troy Taylor was the only option.
Yeah,
and this is what I like about what Stanford and Andy Luck are all about. I like that Andrew Luck said we're not doing it that way. You're out of here. And go read about it. I don't want to detail the allegations on the show, but what I'm telling you is Stanford did the right thing. And I can't see a scenario. I don't know. You guys in the comment section, do you agree with Jackson that would be an option? I don't know. Jeremy Bolton, hello. Good to see you on the afternoon. Greg Hill says ridiculous. Yeah, I don't see any way.
Yeah.
Monty in the evening, Boyd Lake says the SEO King of America. Good to see you. Gene Calderon. Tier 2 ACC payments would be more than Pac-12 media rights. I would agree with that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, in my opinion. John Hamm. One school that should be embarrassed is Alabama. SEC money, and they field 11 varsity sports. When I heard that, I thought it was a lie. But I don't. When you say embarrassed, why should they be embarrassed about that?
Yeah.
I think everybody's in charge of their own business model. They're all running not so small businesses, right? The conferences, the presidents and athletic directors, they're all running their own small business. That's what I hope people understand, that's what athletics are. Athletics are, pulled away from universities budget-wise, and yet feed those universities. They operate very differently. The money, like we're talking about paying, I don't know who's getting paid right now. Micah Parsons, $40 to $50 million a year. Is that real world money? No, that's monopoly money. That's make believe. It's not real, right? So at Washington State, for instance, when the faculty had a sit-in, allegedly and not so allegedly, and they had to freeze the budget, and Kirk Schultz had to release that statement. Yeah, why did he have to do that? Because the people at Washington State were tired of the monopoly money. It's
not fucking real.
It's not real, man. You know, like 21 times a month. That's real. If you want 11 varsity sports, I say knock yourself out.
Yeah.
Patrick, Pac-12 will collapse before it even gets off the ground. I don't think so. I do not think so. I've never thought that. I think they'll get a small media rights deal, and they're going to have to go and sell their asses off to maximize it.
Yeah, I think the message that gets sent through the size of their media rights deal is going to be crucial to their survival. I think if you get a media rights deal that isn't universally regarded as a great deal, then that's not going to be great for the Pac-12, and I think that makes it difficult.
Blue Turf, I thought the health of the athletes was number one, Monty. I think in 9 out of 10 cases it is. Where have we said it's not? Do you mean Stanford and Cal?
Yeah, but the health of the athlete isn't going to, that only goes so far. The health of the athlete matters, and yeah, it's going to cost Stanford and Cal more money to be in the ACC, but you're not going to, I don't think people think these things through. You're not going to go from making ACC power conference money to what you're going to make $10 million a year at most in the Pac-12. Are you kidding? Dude, they're dropping deuces and wiping it with 10 million at Stanford, dude. They need to win games, get into the CFP and make 50, 60, 70.
But again, I think in 9 out of 10 places, there's no question at Memphis that Dr. Ed Scott, the athletic director at Memphis, puts the health and safety of his student athletes and staff before pretty much anything else. At Stanford, they have the money to do the same thing. Look at the money they are spending on facilitating academics with their travel schedule. Basketball and football at Stanford now fully charter in both men's and women's basketball now, which had not always been the case. Fully charter. You have an unbelievable amount of human infrastructure that was added to the Stanford athletic department, including, Andrew Luck, right? Who is not a cheap guy. They have the money and they are spending the money. My biggest concern when it comes to student health and welfare is a smaller school like a Texas State that's why it makes so much sense for Utah to join, or UTEP to join the Mountain West, because they're not traveling coast to coast. I think when you get into these smaller conferences, USF is a very good example of this. Does it make sense for USF to leave the AAC to go to the Pac-12 when the majority of their travel will be from the middle of Florida to the West Coast? Can you imagine? Can you imagine going from Florida to Corvallis, Oregon to play a one basketball game? And then you're going to shoot over to Spokane, and hopefully you're going to get Oregon State, Washington State, and Gonzaga, hopefully, on a basketball trip. How many days is that?
Right.
That's at least a week to Gonzaga, right? That's at least a week to play those 3 games, because you're not playing every other day, right? Think about that. Think about the logistics of USF softball. You think they're chartering? They're not chartering for softball. Do you think they're chartering for Ed Scott talking about, you think they're chartering for soccer? Let that sink in. So when you talk about, and you're being smug with your comment, but it is less of an impact at the P4 level, and it's significant impact at the G5 level because you're making significant less money.
Yeah.
So Brandon Butler, hello. The only way Stanford and Cal go back to the PAC is if they opt out and the Super League happens.
Agreed. You would need something like that, but I doubt they would opt out.
I doubt they would opt out.
Yeah, I doubt they would opt out.
Welcome to the nightmare. What would be such a horrible financial decision by Cal and Stanford to go back? That really would be. Yeah. I mean, you can't even, I don't think, calculate the damage that financial decision would do.
Yeah.
TJ Beck, I could see Stanford drop football one day. Really?
Nah.
I don't think so.
Respectfully, if that were to happen, that day ain't anytime soon, bro.
And because I think again, look at what is the original purpose of athletics, the NCAA as a body and college sports in general?
Enrollment.
To power enrollment, to bring a higher level of visibility to your brand.
Buddy wants to play football at your school because of the coach, and that means he's got to enroll.
Yes, exactly right. Why does BYU spend so much money on advertising, marketing, branding? Well, because they want more butts in the seats, not on Saturday, but on Sunday for church. Everybody's got a mission, right? Everybody's got a goal. Yeah, quite literally at BYU. Everybody's got a goal. You are working. If you're BYU, you're working to power the church. If you're Stanford, you're working to power your academics. Like every university has a goal that they must meet through athletics to power academics. Sal Capone, my sources tell me that after Stanford and Cal go back, USC, Oregon, Washington, exactly. Exactly right. Exactly right. ACC Commissioner Gumby, TJ Beck, I'm over Wilcox. Dude's likable, but got to produce results, and he hasn't. Really good human being. But you have not won nearly enough. The Bears have been barely over par for so long. We need the second coming of Jeff Tedford. The biggest mistake Cal football ever made, and probably Cal athletics. And Gumby, you might agree or disagree. When you renovated the stadium in Berkeley, it just dropped a financial bomb on that university. And you've never recovered from it, in my opinion. And it is, man, you talk about what Jeff Tedford meant to that program and what that program was. Oh, my goodness.
Program.
Man. That is, yeah. Brandon Butler, if the Mountain West Conference plays hardball, they could put the PAC in the ground. The question is, are they willing to suffer to make it happen? Well, I've talked to 5 people, both at the university level and sources across the situation. I don't believe that they have selected a mediator. I think the single biggest question between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, and I'm sure most people know this, on, I think it was March 14th, a stay was entered on the poaching fees lawsuit between the two conferences, which essentially is, hey, we're going to put a pause button on this for 2 months. And they still have not selected a mediator. And I've heard some names that are being thrown around. I don't think they have an idea of who that mediator is going to be necessarily. I don't know that they agree.
And again, I just don't think the Mountain West needs to be in any type of rush to get mediation done. I mean,
well, they're hanging on. They're not. The biggest problem here is that you still have the exiting members of the Mountain West on the board of directors. Are you going to be talking openly and honestly about future business with those guys on your board of directors? Not beyond this coming year, you're not. Like, you should be, you're not planning this coming cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You're not planning 2025, 26. That's done. You're looking forward and planning for 26, 27, 27, 28. Like, you're trying to make plans into the future. Right now, the Mountain West can't do that. And I think it is is it a problem? Yeah, it's a problem. Is it a huge problem? No. But it's definitely holding up business being done.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't disagree. It's not ideal to have these exiting members on your board. There's no question about that. But I think it would be naive to just skip over the fact that people talk outside of, board meetings. So I don't, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't personally believe that this is privately is holding them up really at all. I think that people, when they're in situations, find a way to get it done and find a way to be on the same page. And really, this is only going to become a problem when you talk about, getting closer to things needing to be planned. It was the whole concept of the scheduling alliance, right? Why'd the scheduling alliance get done? Well, you ran out of time, right? You had to do something, and so they did. And so I think it's kind of this chicken and the egg kind of situation where, again, I agree with Brandon Butler. I've always maintained, I think if the Mountain West wanted to, they could crush the Pac-12 from a leverage standpoint. I think that the Mountain West already has a media rights deal. They're working on an extension. They've got great relationships. And by the way, they have all the leverage in court. So I don't know. My opinion is I think, the Mountain West isn't going to crush them. I think what the Mountain West is going to do is they're going to try to find a middle ground that is palatable for them to accept, with the exit fees, and try to move along with life. Because again, to your point, being in, strife and consternation this long sucks, but you have to find an amenable outcome.
A year and a half ago, I'll just continue to say it. December 2023, the Mountain West threw a life ring into the ocean. And Oregon State and Washington State took it. And anybody telling you that, oh, they signed this contract, this scheduling agreement under duress is full of it. They knew what they were doing. They've admitted they knew what they were doing. If you read we knew it was an illegal term of the contract, a stipulation for, these poaching fees, but we were going to fight it in court. So sign it. It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter because we're talking about $150 million. And I think the Mountain West, I think is in the right way. If we ever get in front of a judge, contract law is pretty black and white.
Yeah. And precedent's pretty black and white too.
But this is never going before a judge. This is not going before a judge. The biggest question is, how much will the Mountain West end up seeing in those poaching fees? Will it be the full 150? No. Will it be none? No. All the Pac-12, yard barkers out there saying, oh, we're not paying a penny. Okay.
Yeah,
well, good luck with that.
My sticking point with percentages would be no less than half of what you originally agreed to. I think it's a slap in the face to the Mountain West if you agree to 30 or 40% of what the original numbers were, let's say. I think my starting point would be 75% of what we originally agreed to. I think, I would be, and frankly, when it comes to negotiating things, I'm the nicer one usually on the show when it comes to sticking it to people in terms of negotiating and court stuff. But my starting point would probably be 75%. And my hope would be that you would get out of this thing at 60 to 65%. And you have to, at some point as a commissioner or as a legal professional representing the commissioner, understand that, hey, like, this is our number. You guys are going to do this or we're going to go to court and you're going to lose. Like, that's how this has to go, in my opinion.
I think you look at the whole genesis of this, and I know you're going to hate that I say this Pac-12 hyenas issue. Hit the like button, please. This all comes down to the mistake that Teresa Gould made when she declined to talk about a merger. Because again, as we've reported exclusively on the show, Mountain West has multiple times suggested a merger and asked for conversations around it, and the Pac-12 said no. The Pac-12, and I don't know how many people know this, the Pac-12 paid $14 million a year to the Mountain West to play those games in that scheduling agreement. The Pac-12 wanted to reduce that. The Mountain West wanted to increase that. And that's how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Pac-12 wanted to pay less for the lifeline that they were gifted.
Which I also just want to point out, that's business as usual in the Pac-12. Hey, pay us ridiculous money in our media rights deals.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to be as cheap as possible.
I just disagree with the way that the Pac-12 has handled this whole thing. I think with poaching, taking, whatever it is, there was one right answer here, and that was to merge. It was the clearly right thing to do, to merge.
The pragmatic solution.
And I love everybody who's like, well, but we would have had a bunch of bad teams. So again, I'm just going to put this. I'm just going to say this again. Yeah. You didn't want to merge, and this is what all the Pac-12 hyenas will tell you. Well, we can't merge, Monty. We'd have had all these crappy teams.
Pac-10.
Okay, well, I'm just asking now. Outside of Gonzaga, What do you got on this graphic?
Gonzaga.
You got a bunch of crappy teams from the Mountain West. Those are your words. That's who you would have been.
You don't get to have it both ways.
This is who you would have been anyway. And you would have been able to add UNLV, and you would have been able to add Air Force, and you would have been able to strengthen your position, go to the TV market, get more money.
Let's merge under the guise of the Pac-12.
Go to the market under the Pac-12 brand, both in media rights and branding deals. You would have had a really strong, in my opinion, you'd have been in a much better place football-wise.
But what did we say? We said the Mountain West will not agree to a merger unless Teresa Gould is sitting on top of it.
The Pac-12 will not agree to a merger unless Teresa Gould's the commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a huge part of it. I truly do.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody that would have picked Teresa Gould over. Nobody's picking Teresa Gould over Gloria Nevarez.
No.
There's just you put the body of work next to each other, and you're just not doing that.
Yeah.
There's accomplishments, and then there's failures. Period. And
Yes.
I just keep going back to this whole thing about the Mountain West, and you can't tell me that the Pac-12 is so significantly better off going forward when the Mountain West has New Mexico, Northern Illinois, UNLV, Air Force, the
Hawaii
Wyoming
situation getting worked out.
I think you have a situation where you're neither one of them is exponentially better than the other. They should merge, and they just won't. So all of that to say,
we don't hate the Pac-12.
no,
right?
it's just disappointing that bad decisions continue to be made.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it is.
Really, in the bigger picture, it's disappointing that a merger is not going to happen, and we're not going to get a nice, clean-cut consolidation solution, because that's what this is. I mean, in the bigger national picture, that's what this is. A bunch of schools left and went to other conferences, and you're trying to pick up the pieces, otherwise known as consolidation.
And I just will again say, where are these universities? All of them, Pac-12, Mountain West, where are they in the Super League? And I'll just put the Pac-12 graphic back up, and I ask
That's
you,
a great point.
How many of these logos are in a Super League? 2 or 3, maybe.
Oh, I think that's pushing it.
It ain't Utah State.
I think at one time, Oregon State would have been in the conversation.
Oh,
Not
I think
anymore.
Oregon State will be there. I don't think Washington State has the money to do it. Because remember, again, and I just will remind you, we're talking about an uptick in spending from the G5 level to go to a Super League, probably close to $750 million.
Which is just wild.
In facilities, infrastructure, humanity, it's probably $750 million minimum.
Mm-hmm.
How many of these schools have that? Well, Oregon State and Washington State already have it. They just in facilities alone. But you can't tell me that Boise State's not going to be tight on that. Are they going to put the money up? I have to believe they would. Colorado State, Fresno State, Gonzaga doesn't count as basketball only. San Diego State, I think will try. It will be tight. Not a chance in the world will Utah State be there. Not a chance in the world. And I'll continue to tell you, neither one of these conferences is going to thrive.
Yeah.
They need to come together. They need to merge, and they need to move forward as one.
And I think the word sustainable is the key word that you guys should be kind of holding on to as this plays out over the next, because I still think we've still got runway on this. I mean, we've still got probably a year, I think, before this is all said and done, at least, in my opinion. I could be wrong.
See.
Maybe it's less, but.
Well, remember, at the latest, what is it, June 1st? The exiting members of the Mountain West have to give written notice and pay their $5,000. That's when they can be removed from the board of directors, right? Because that's a year notice. We're coming down to it. And my guess is, I would think it's got to be a matter of days or weeks that we get a mediator. Yeah.
There's got to be.
That's where this is going.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of who is going to help negotiate a deal between these two parties? And does mediation eventually work, or will they wind up in court? Because you only have a 60-day window here.
Yeah.
So I don't exactly know the upshot of it.
Yeah, it's just a shame that it's so clunky. It's a shame that it's just so like
because it never had to be that way
and clunky. You're right. It never had to be this way. Could have easily put a merger together. Could have easily done a couple of press conferences talking about revamping the Pac-12 in a proper fashion, and like it would have been fine.
Yep,
but you didn't.
I agree. TJ back. Ed Scott is going to an SEC or Big Ten school someday soon. He's elite. He is elite.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Welcome to the nightmare. Stanford and Cal going back is like going from eating filet mignon to spam.
Well, that's what I mean. I just don't think
baloney, not spam, like baloney.
Yeah, I know that financially that makes absolutely zero sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Blue Turf. If a Super League comes about, a West Coast division will be developed with all those teams. I don't think so.
Nah, because I don't think they can afford it, bro. I don't disagree that a Super League has to have a West Coast contingent, certainly.
Absolutely.
But you can't honestly sit here and think that Utah State or whoever the hell you want to look at there is just going to be, yep, sign us up for $750 million.
What math works out that has Fresno State, Utah State? Again, throw out Gonzaga. They don't play football. Super League is football only. I mean, Washington State is going to have a fight on their hands. If you got to cut a $500 million check,
bro,
can Washington State really do that? Because you're already looking at the majority of these G5 schools not paying, not wanting to opt into revenue sharing. Look at the AAC talking about a minimum of $10 million. And it be over, 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about $3.3 million to pay your players over 3 years. That's not a Super League. The money doesn't add up.
And by the way, I also think there's a want to part of the conversation. Not all these schools want
I totally agree with
spend the money, even if they had it. I don't you can't just sit here and be like, yep, they have it, they're doing it. No, I don't think that's the case. I do think that
I don't think so either.
Are many schools out there, and as usual in life with any situation, there will be surprises of a school where you're like, yeah, that school should be in the Super League. Yeah, it turns out they actually didn't want to spend the money. They felt like it would be a better option to step down, compete at a higher level, and move along.
Plus, building anything in the state of California costs
It's a joke, dude. It's an absolute joke.
Exactly right, Gumby.
So yes. Again, if we use the example of Oregon and Washington State, Washington State, I agree. They have power conference level facilities. There's no question about that. But again, it's this whole concept of, and this is what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. Bro, they're not competing in the college football playoff right now. They're not competing in deep tournament run after deep tournament. Like, they don't have just revenue checks pouring in right now.
Think about how important Boise State going to the college football playoff was to the Mountain West. Huge. Think about how important the basketball runs in the Pac-12 and the Mountain West are going to be. Huge. Because we're just talking about like the bare minimum. One team a year from the G5 goes to the college football playoff. Multiple teams in the Mountain West don't go. Multiple teams in the Pac-12 or the AAC don't go. One team from the G5. And if we expand, as I've told you, 14, in my opinion, and from what my sources are telling me, 14's the number. 8 of that is going to be the Big Ten and the Pac-12. 8 of that's going to be the SEC and the Big Ten.
Pac-10.
2 more of that's the Big 12. 2 more of that is the ACC. 1 of those is Notre Dame. And then 1 of those is a G5.
And look at this past season.
And that's just right now.
Look at this. Who's competing for that final spot with Boise State? Well, UNLV was, right? We remember the championship game for the Mountain West and all the implications. We remember, picking that game on the show and going through that game.
Yeah.
And, what were they going to be able to stop Jincy? We remember that, man. And I just think it is, dude, it's wishful thinking. If you think two things. Number one, the G5 is going to get more opportunity to play with the big boys. You're out of your damn mind. That's not happening.
Yeah, I
that
just
is
don't.
not on any planet happening in the college football playoff. You're going to stay at one spot. But then secondly, this concept of, hey, every school just wants to be bananas in spending on athletics. That's not true. It's philosophical. It's school to school.
All right. Let's run through a bunch of comments. Car Wash Channel says Pac-12 is just wasting money. And the legal fees are. Again, why did the Mountain West initiate mediation? It's the prudent business move. Let's get this settled because again, if you go to court and let's say you win $150 million, right? The judge, because I think that would be the outcome. This goes all the way through court. Aren't you losing money versus going to mediation, settling, and not paying attorneys, paying a mediator instead of attorneys? You're saving a lot of money, probably millions at that point, just in billable hours, because the lawyers are the ones who always win. So listen, everybody can say, well, the Mountain West, they're weak. They know they're in trouble. Okay, cool. Well, then you guys go to court and pay the lawyers. The Mountain West will be over here trying to mediate this and avoid lawyers' fees and save money and put money back in their pocket and get those guys off the board of directors sooner rather than later. Because that's what makes all the sense in the world. It really does. Gene Calderon. California Memorial Stadium is a registered historic structure and sits on an earthquake fault. You can't build anything else there. So choice was not to use it. It sits empty or renovate, and then it falls into a hole. It falls into a schism. The money that Jeff Tedford raised, and ultimately, it's so funny. Jeff Tedford and Todd Graham
did.
And I don't know if we have ASU fans on the show. Listen, I'm going to try and say this gently. Your stadium sucks. Right? Like, the only thing that I appreciate about ASU's crap hole of a football stadium is the Pat Tillman statue.
Yeah.
I don't know what in the hell this is. My wife, who has, spent some time at ASU, and I showed my wife this picture today and she threw up. Now, she also has terrible flu and she is ravaged by, some death virus.
It really hit me.
So that might. Anyway, the point is my wife agrees with me that this is horrible. What are you doing? What are you, Boise State?
That's what I'm saying,
Did
dude.
that used to be blue and the sun turned it red? Is that Herm Edwards' blood on the field?
Yeah.
What are you out of your mind?
Well, Monty, it's the tears of the Sun Devil. That's why it's maroon.
Bro, hey, you notice what is still there? Oh, yeah, all the concrete. Let me get this right. You're in the middle of the desert, so you built your entire stadium out of exposed concrete.
I mean,
who wouldn't? Bro, no, the answer is no, absolutely not. That sucks. Okay. Yeah, no. Gilbert Chavez. I probably got a little too uppity over that. Teresa Gould would be out of a job if they merge. Maybe that's why she doesn't want to. Could be. Johnny Gonzalez. You merked instead of merged. Ooh. Zigged instead of zagged.
Yes.
See, zigged, Gonzaga.
Oh, is that what you were trying to do?
Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Gonzaga.
Kevin Sampson. Hey, look, Big Daddy Magic.
Okay, I'm gonna take a wild guess here. This is a Bills reference or a Victor reference.
Victor's the way.
I think Gage is $69 million in total. I'd make him shave Oregon State Beaver mascot twice a year. Okay.
Man, wow, dude. That's just whew.
Wow. Gumby with a question mark. Jimmy Otson. Hello, Jimmy. Egos are keeping a merger from happening. A hundo P. Loner Phone. Hello. Good to see you. Real World Game Nation stuff. LOL Pac-12 couged it. Well, they couged it. Hey, look at that. The stadium guy, James. Good to see you, James. I wouldn't trust Teresa Gould to walk my dog. Gloria Nevarez. Well, and now that Jake's a dog owner, he's an expert. Just ask him; he'll tell you. Gloria Nevarez is the best G5 commissioner. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Wyoming produces the beloved MVP Josh Allen. You put respect on Wyoming's name. Well, who doesn't love good old Laramie or Wyoming?
Nice crap round uniforms there, you know.
A reverse merge PAC AAC makes for interesting weekend TV. It does, but how much money is the Pac-12 willing to give up to get the members of the AAC? That's the question. That's the question. Which of the Bulldogs on that graphic is female just asking for a friend? TJ? Why?
Bro.
Why, TJ? See?
It's so good.
It is. Actually, it's really good. It's really, really good. When do they actually need to have a media deal so they can continue? The Pac-12 needs one yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The Mountain West has a deal for another year. My guess is both will have one by the end of the summer. That'd be my guess. So hit the like button, please, folks. Yes, please hit the like button. With over 1,000 people watching the show on Twitter, Facebook, all over the gint. We appreciate you guys listening. If you're on Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, please come over to YouTube. Find The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a like. It really helps the channel grow. Big changes to be announced shortly on the audio side of this here program. Really excited about what we have for you there. Johnny Gonzalez, my Bologna has a first name. It's Pacay. My Bologna has a second name. It's 6, 7, or 8, which is why people refer to it as the PAC. This is true. Jay McClanahan. If I were Oregon State, I would call Jensen Huang to see if he could spare some extra seat cushion money for their athletics, dude. I really don't think Oregon State is struggling financially.
No, it just it changes levels and conversation depth when you start talking about $750 million checks.
I would well, that's true.
Like that changes things.
Yes, James is in the house. I think the beaver is female.
What are we doing? So have we reached, is this like the meat gazing portion? Is that what we're doing?
The meat gazing.
Yeah, is that what we're doing in the comments now?
Okay. Maury Alvarez, Fresno State is the female. Okay.
I don't even know what that means.
Like, what's a female dog, Jake?
Mm-hmm.
See,
I'm not saying
ding.
it. I'm not saying it.
You know, what if Hawaii is the key and you could use all that tourism NIL? Well, listen, I think I need to grab my wife a week from now will be in Hawaii, and that's disgusting. Actually, she won't be in Hawaii. What's today, Tuesday? She'll be coming back from Hawaii, and I'll be in lovely, freezing ass cold Chicago. How nice. Waiting for the Texas Rangers game to get snowed out at Wrigley.
Bring your hoodie. Oh, great.
I quite literally cannot catch a break with if I had a net, I couldn't catch a break.
You're traveling to Egypt? Yeah, it's going to be 30 and snowing.
Yeah, we're going to need to get some rain and snow. Oh, you're traveling to the hottest desert? Yeah, unfortunately, you'll need an umbrella there, Monty. Hey, Monty. Like anywhere I go, it rains and it's cold. And it's not golf weather. And you and I both know on this show in middle of July, I'm going to be bitching about how it's too hot. You know.
Well, I need SPF 871 so I don't get burnt.
I'm going to Chicago. We're dark next week, by the way. I know you guys are really excited about that. We're dark next week because we're going to Chicago to shoot a bunch of content around the Cubs and PFG.
It's not a darkness retreat. We're just not doing shows.
Right, we didn't move to Florida, so we're not physically darker like Rosikowski said.
Right.
Like, who makes that kind of comment? Anyway, so let me get this right. I'm going to Chicago next week. Here's the weather in Chicago. Today, it's a high of 44. Tomorrow, 68 and sunny.
Nice.
Tuesday, 62 and sunny. Wednesday, 53 and sunny. I arrive on Thursday, 39 on Thursday with a chance of rain. Friday for the Cubs home opener, 44 degrees and cloudy. Saturday,
dude,
for the party. 43 and heavy rain, chances of snow.
So what you're saying is that we're going to be chilling in the Windy City watching the Final Four in the hotel room.
Probably.
That's what you're.
No, I won't be in a hotel room.
That's
I'll
what
be
you're
at
trying
the,
to tell me.
I'll be at the Art Institute. I'll be at Science and Industry. I'll be at Superdog. I'll be at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. I ain't sitting in a hotel room in Chicago. I'm not doing it. Sunday for the doubleheader, because Saturday's going to get snowed out. A mighty 44 degrees.
Wow.
But no precipitation in the forecast.
Well, and you know, the Cubs have a much better tarp situation than the White Sox do. So, I mean, you know, at least there's that.
What did I ever do to Mother Nature that she hates me? That's the thing that you have to ask yourself.
It is what it is.
You know, it is what it is. So, which is fine. All right, let's run through a couple more, because then we got to get to the NFL. Stadium Guy James, all these Beaver references make me think of,
really, bro,
How I Met Your Mother and the so-called kids show with the Beavers.
Macaque.
You're a pastor. I don't even know what to say to that.
Hi, this is James. Welcome back.
No, not doing it. Angry Beavers. Thank you. Thank you. Zero Dark Monty. Exactly right.
Right.
You became an unbeliever, you know.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's literally what it is lately, bro. You know,
Dude,
Unbelievers.
Hopefully at some point. Because we're playing Cog Hill in Chicago next week, which is a really nice course. All I'm asking is mid-50s. It don't even have to be sunny. Just give me mid-50s.
No.
Probably not. Probably not. You know. Chicago could have a blizzard one day and a tornado the next. Hey, thanks for that. Blue turf, save a tree, eat a beaver. I'm here for it.
wow.
I'm here for it. The Stadium Guy James, can you bring back some deep dish pizza to my house? Sure.
Dude, are you calling us fat?
What, are you coming over?
Yeah.
You know, Prize Picks, the official daily fantasy partner of the Monty Show, presents our NFL talk right here on the program. This situation with the Dallas Cowboys is, can I be one of the cool kids? Jerry Jones is he's out of pocket right now. We'll tell you why next.
Yo, you think Dallas' Power 4 gonna drop 30 tomorrow?
Boy, you tripping.
Did you see his mom made a post about going to the game?
What? Hold up. His mama gonna be there?
He's been averaging like 34 points a game when she's there.
At least 40 when she be on that Jumbotron.
He don't like to let his mama down.
Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Cash in on your sports fandom with Prize Picks.